Okay,
Okay.
welcome to Self-Confidence Month. I'm chatting with Emma Reynolds. Emma, do you want to just tell us a little bit about what you do?
I will indeed. I am a mindfulness teacher and I help people with stress and anxiety particularly, and also dealing with the stress and anxiety of acute body pain as well. So if you're suffering from, well, things like perimenopausal symptoms, for example, that can be very stressful, I help people step up to whatever's happening in their lives and deal with it, basically.
Awesome. So this month we're looking at self-confidence, which I think for a lot of women takes a real hit in perimenopause. What can we do to boost our self-confidence, to make ourselves feel a bit better? How can we go about that?
Well, I think we've got to really question, first of all, why we're feeling so bad about ourselves, right? I mean, this can be a story, and I was just sharing before that has been my story. I know in my 20s, when I look back at myself in my 20s, I was unbelievably stressed, anxious, depressed, basically. I had this terrible internal voice that was continually telling me how I wasn't getting it right. And I can point fingers at where it may have come from, but in a way I kind of created it myself, this internal critic that was continually trying to correct me. And it was relentless. And whatever I did, I could never really get it right. And if I did get it right for a minute, it would only be a moment, if a moment of celebration, before it would be on to the next thing of like, yeah, but now let's move on to the next thing. And, you know, that's going to go wrong. And what did that person mean when they looked at you that way? And I would spend hours pulling it all apart. What should I have said? What should I have done differently? Deeply, deeply stressful. And the thing is that it can happen to us at any point in our lives. I mean, probably a lot of people will recognize this anyway, and something they maybe have had since their teenage years or even younger, this internal critic. But when we get into perimenopause, on top of everything else, you know, we have these hormones which are bouncing around. The ones that have been, you know, looking after us and been a buffer between us and stress are starting to lower. So our stress levels are going up. On top of that are, like we said, there's the actual symptoms are stressful as well. So we've got like stress upon stress. And this just seems to then encourage more internal dialogue of how, and look at what we're living through. You know, we've got a society that's telling us that, you know, young and thin is good and everything else isn't. And so when we get to this age, we suddenly go like, well, society is telling me I'm defunct now or whatever, you know. So there's loads and loads of things all happening at the same time. And may I just say as well, none of us are defunct. We are just ripening into something amazing. I really want to say that. I really feel that, like, all that stuff that's gone before has been this training ground, and we're now stepping into something else. And if we meet perimenopause in the right way, it really can be quite revolutionary, because there's also part of you that starts to not give a shit. Can I say that word?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can say that word. I don't give a shit anymore. We don't. We just go, you know, or we do, we suffer, or we go, God, you know, finally I can expand myself out a little bit. And so for some of us, this is a bit of a revolution, but for some of us who haven't maybe got there yet, we're still very much worrying about ourselves, our bodies, you know, what's going to happen, and who am I? What's my place in the world? And all the stuff, you know, some people, this is a real moment for them to look back and go, you know, what did I do with my life? And as though your life is now over. And it's like, no, it's not over. You've just arrived at a pause, you know, menopause. It's like a moment to pause and go, okay, this is what's gone on. But just because this is what's gone on doesn't mean this needs to carry on, that we can actually start to bring some awareness to it and maybe start to make some changes. And I think that's really what's going on in perimenopause, right? I've had this negative internal voice that's been talking to me, telling me, you know, how bad I'm doing. Maybe it's time to give it the sack.
Yeah, absolutely. And to just start disagreeing with it.
Yeah. What can we do with this voice, right? If this voice had been your boss or your partner, and it may be also your boss or your partner, you know, but or your, you know, relative, and so you might have just gone, do you know what? we're breaking up, I'm leaving the job, I don't want to have you in my life anymore. But because this is an internal dialogue, we can't get rid of it. And we try to get rid of it by, well, choose your poison, really, watching loads of Netflix, going shopping for stuff we don't need to buy, maybe having more drinks than we need, maybe eating more than we need to do, you know, all of those things. And even to a certain extent, avoiding this voice with kind of so-called healthy things like doing yoga, going for a walk with the dogs. You know, they're all valid. I'm not saying they're not valid, but it's, at the end of the day, it's not actually sitting down with the voice. And with mindfulness, the invitation is to actually start to slow down and become aware of this internal dialogue. And instead of being so connected to it and absolutely listening to it. So I'll use a dog analogy here. I know you'll like that, Emily, which is like, it's like having an untrained dog. Your mind is taking you off down all sorts of alleyways that you don't want to go, right? And you've just got dragged around by it. And now you can become aware of that and actually do something. And it's really going, I don't want to go down that route anymore. So I hear this voice that comes in that says, well, you did that really badly, or that's going to go really badly because you're not very good at that, or whatever it is, look at the way you are at the moment, this is wrong in some way. And you can just go, all right, let's just stop right there. Not a moment longer will you speak in my mind. Let me explore this thought. And you can kind of put it through a little process, which this comes from Byron Katie. I love Byron Katie. I really highly recommend her work, which is just asking the question, is it true? Like, is this thought, is this belief true? And usually when we work from that knee-jerk automatic pilot reaction, we go, yeah, it's true. That's absolutely how I am. This is who I am, and it's never going to change. And so you go back and go, is it really true? Is it 100% true? Are you like this all the time? Is this belief true all the time? And I bet you probably think, actually, there's sometimes when that is not true. And maybe more than just a few times, quite a few times actually, right? So you start to open the door to this new possibility of going, yeah, maybe this truth of a story I'm telling myself isn't quite as true, and it needs to be questioned in some way. And then you can kind of go through a process of it, like, well, how do I act when I believe this? So if we're talking specifically about self-confidence, it kills my self-confidence, this belief. I don't want to go and do that thing because I'm already telling myself I'm going to fail at it. For example, you know, I'm unsuccessful in X, Y, and Z, therefore I will. And then what, if you really start listening to it, you cut out whole swathes of your life. I'm never going to do this. I'm never going to do that because I believe this voice in my head. So how do I act? Well, it stresses me out. It gives me anxiety. It gives me low mood. I feel depressed, you know, like really name it. Like, this is what this thought does to me. And how do you act? Well, I avoid people, I avoid situations where that would occur to try and keep myself safe, right? Because it feels really unsafe. And then you go to have a step further and go, right, just imagine, and it may just be only able to imagine this, what would it be like to not believe that thought? How would you act then? And it might be, well, then I would go for that job. Go to that party, take up tango lessons, blah, 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 whatever the thing is. You know, all the things that you're restricting yourself from doing because of a belief system can be questioned. Now, if that belief system's working for you and it's giving you joy and you're doing lots of things that you're enjoying, great. But if there is some belief in there that is like really stopping you from doing something you really want to do, it's got to be questioned, because unquestioned thoughts become beliefs, beliefs become ways of being in the world, it becomes our character. And so it doesn't have to be that way, right? When you were 4, you could do lots of things. You had no barriers to your experiences and how you wanted to be in the world. And then little by little, through parents, through society, we learnt, oh, I'm like this and not like that. Oh, I'm like this and I'm not like that. And then we got ourselves we got put in a box. And then guess what? That internal voice then just carried on creating that box for us. If we're enjoying the box, great. If we're not enjoying the box, maybe it's time to start questioning those thoughts and beliefs, and, you know, living a fuller life where we're actually enjoying being out in the world.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Emma. I think that's brilliant. Thank you.
You are very welcome. And if anyone's interested in finding, I'm sort of putting lots of things on the Facebook page at the moment. So I've got podcasts on there. You can find me on the Hub. I've got a website where you can find out about, you know, doing courses to lower stress and anxiety. It can, I know this sounds a bit cheesy, but it really can be a life changer. That has been my personal experience. So, and it's been the experience of people I've worked with. So I hope people will at least take a look, be a little bit interested. Can I be in another way? And
Awesome.
explore that a bit.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye.